Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to the movie Won't You Be My Neighbor. So this is a documentary, I believe it's a documentary, on Mr. Rogers. And this was actually a mega stream reward for donations. It was suggested by Cartoon Lounge. So I did grow up watching Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, of course. I mean, most people my age probably did. And I enjoyed it as a kid. Looking back on some stuff more as an adult and stuff, it was good. But it's not something I would watch nowadays, just if I'm being honest. But I'm not saying it's bad by any means. It's just, it's not something I'd watch nowadays. It's not in my current wheelhouse. For those who don't know, Mr. Rogers, or Fred Rogers, was a Christian minister and television star. He was most known for his show, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, which was a children's television show that taught kids just basically how to be good people. It featured puppets, a little trolley, just good life moral lessons, all kinds of stuff like that. And it's one of the most famous kids programs in all of history. Everyone knows Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Everyone grew up with Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, it seems. And the show was around for a long freaking time. Like, I think it was actually going on for decades. In kind of the same way Sesame Street is. And it was just this big deal to so many people. So this movie, when it first came out and everything, was a big deal, and people were making a big deal about it. I know that people on my Facebook, on my timeline, had been seeing it and stuff. I hadn't. Not out of a lack of interest necessarily, just out of, I guess, other things taking up more priority for me. But either way, this isn't a movie I would have ever also thought I'd react to, because if it is a documentary, like I think it is, I don't see a documentary being very react-worthy. Even if it's a great documentary. Like, for example, one of my favorite documentaries is Super Size Me with Morgan Spurlock. I mean, just in general, it's funny as hell. Morgan Spurlock is a really hilarious dude. Plus, it's just a really interesting documentary. But either way, even though I love that documentary, I couldn't see myself reacting to it. I don't believe I'd have enough to say. So that's what makes this interesting, that it was chosen as the reward for the donation. I don't know if I'm going to have a lot to say during this reaction. I don't know if there's going to be a lot of afterthoughts. I don't know. But this is a reward reaction, and I'm going to react to it either way. I'm hoping it's very good, though. I'm hoping it sheds a lot more light on Fred Rogers than most people would know just from watching the show or whatnot, or even having just a general knowledge of him. I'm hoping that it explains, like, how the show came to be and everything, and what his, like, missions and goals in doing it were. Stuff like that. I don't know much of anything about, like, the content of this. I don't know a lot about the life of Fred Rogers, honestly. So going into this, I am mostly blind. Like I said, all I know is from what I saw on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, stuff I've seen posted randomly throughout Facebook here and there, and then, of course, the fact that he was a Christian minister. That's pretty much all I know. But, like I said, we'll see. We'll see. It might end up being great, and hell, I might actually have a lot more to talk about than I think I will. But we'll find out. Either way, yeah, this is the last movie reaction for the Mega Stream reaction stuff. As for the I'm going to say this now. As for the comic review that I'm doing for Space Apples, that is going to come later this week. I'm not able to get to it today because I have to do this. I have to do something else. The Loud House reaction for today, and I don't think I'll be able to get to it. If I can get to it today, I will, for sure. But otherwise, it'll come later this week. We'll just have to see how the time goes and all. In the meantime, though, we're just going to get this started. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play, because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts, and will contain spoilers to the episode, or the movie, rather. I'm so used to saying episode. Will contain spoilers to the movie. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. Okay, and we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, Won't You Be My Neighbor, a documentary about Mr. Rogers, Fred Rogers, and how he, well, started the show, and everything that happened surrounding it, and even after. So, I'll be honest right off the bat, this was one of the hardest reactions I've had to sit through. Not because it was bad, no, this was a great documentary. But it's because it was a documentary. I said in my pre-thoughts that I feel documentaries are a really hard thing to kind of think about reacting to, because it's like, it's informational, it's educational, and there's nothing inherently wrong with that kind of stuff, but when I'm, at least personally, reacting to something, I want it to be more entertaining. And you can have something that's good, that's educational, that's interesting, with, at the same time, having a low entertainment value. What I mean by this is that this documentary, while, again, very good, very interesting, very enlightening, it wasn't entertaining, it wasn't exciting, it wasn't enticing to watch. I found myself many times throughout looking at the time and being surprised that it was only that amount of time through. It was an hour and a half. I honestly, it felt 3 times as long. It felt really long. And it was really hard to sit through, honestly. Now, again, that doesn't mean by any means that I didn't like it. I am glad that you suggested that I check this out, Cartoon Lounge, and I'm glad that I did check it out. I'm glad I saw it, very much so, because it enlightened me on a few things about Fred Rogers that I didn't even know, such as his stance on being LGBT, and the fact that he did struggle with that at first, but that eventually he did come around and became accepting and loving towards LGBT people. Like the one guy who was in this. I don't remember their names, by the way. So I don't remember a single person's name besides Fred. So just letting you know that. I had no idea about his stances on that kind of stuff. I had no idea that he struggled extremely hard with 9/11. I mean, granted, I could have like expected that, but I didn't know. I didn't know how badly it affected him. I didn't know that he had Westboro-style protesters, and maybe even Westboro themselves, picketing his funeral. I didn't know this kind of stuff. I also didn't know that there was a point where he actually stopped production on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. It was very informative, very enlightening. There was a lot of great stuff, a lot of great clips, a lot of great moments, even just stuff that was like seemingly like not related to the show specifically, like the clips of him sitting out there on that hill in the windy day, the clips of him swimming, and just when they were just talking about him, like just in his life and just who he was and all. It was very intriguing to see, because you see this kind of thing and it's like you're seeing him almost in a different light than you know him as being. And I like how they made his Christianity a notable part, but like didn't try to like bash it over your head. It was just like, yes, this was a very important part of his life. It was very important to his philosophy. It fueled his desire to do all of this. It fueled his ideologies on love. That was the cornerstone of the show and everything he did. And I love that. That's awesome. But like I said, this kind of thing, it's not something I would think would be good for a reaction. And I don't think I was at my best doing my reaction to this. Honestly, I felt not bored, but like I felt like really, I don't know how to put it. Like I just wasn't into reacting. There were a couple points where I actually had to remind myself internally that, yeah, I'm doing a reaction right now. There was one point I even remember, I want to say like maybe a little over halfway through, where I actually looked down at the OBS, noticed the recording timer going, and I was actually surprised for a split second. I was like, wait, I'm recording this? Because this isn't something that is, in my opinion, reaction worthy. It's not a reactionary piece of media. It doesn't have that high entertainment value. And when you think about it, it's kind of it's almost a little ironic, because in the documentary we found that Mr. Rogers, that Fred Rogers, actually didn't like a lot of this stuff that was shown on television. The stuff that we would consider entertaining or having high entertainment value. Because he felt that it, a lot of times, would give a negative influence to children. And to a lot of degree, that's true. But it also stated in the documentary that people weren't telling these kids what is like real and not, and what to take as real and not, such as with the Superman incidents. And that's true. It's like there's nothing wrong with letting these kids watch this kind of stuff. But you as parents especially have to make sure that these kids know that, like, when they see Superman flying, it's fake and that they can't do that. When they see like some kind of animated character stop a car with their bare hands, they can't do that. And it's not the kids' responsibility to figure that out. It's our responsibility as the adults to tell them this. To teach them that television, it's fun, it's entertaining, it's great, but it's fake. And so I just find it kind of funny and kind of ironic that the very stuff that he kind of spoke out against a little bit is the stuff that is more fun to watch. But in his mind, and honestly, in a lot of ways, not always the best stuff to watch. Now, there are a lot of exceptions to that. There are a lot of exceptions to that, especially nowadays. There are a lot of shows nowadays that have a very high moral center and teach very good, important things. Steven Universe, MLP, She-Ra 2018, as prime examples. They teach very important, very moralistic things. But they still have that entertainment factor. And not everything in them is perfect, no. But you don't expect it to be. And again, as long as we teach the kids who watch that kind of stuff that this is all fake and that they shouldn't be automatically influenced by everything they watch or play or whatever, then it should hopefully be fine. There are some definite things I saw in there that I have seen before. Whether it's I saw the episodes from the time I watched or during reruns or whatnot. The one kid, I think his name, I want to say his name was Jeffrey or something. The kid in the wheelchair. I remember that. Like, I vividly remember that. I didn't remember all the details surrounding his condition, but I vividly remember that scene where they're singing together. That, like, when I was watching that, it's like, I've seen this before. Not even a question, 100% positive. And there were a couple other things too, of course. And I remember the puppets, of course. I remember all the puppets. And I remembered a lot of the various songs and things he's done. Even that commencement speech, his last commencement speech, I've seen that before. Granted, a lot more recently, but I have seen that. And so it was nostalgic in a way, a lot of it. But in a very, very nice way, of course. It was nostalgic in a very calming and welcoming way, which is obviously the best way for something to be nostalgic. But yeah, I really felt like this documentary was great in terms of what it did. But in terms of being an actual reactionary piece of media, I just don't think it was good for that. So, Cartoon Lounge, I thank you very much for suggesting this for your donation reward. And I'm very glad I got to see it, because I probably wouldn't have seen it otherwise. But if I'm being completely honest, while I enjoyed the documentary itself, I didn't enjoy reacting to it. I found myself, again, as I mentioned, I found myself looking at the time multiple times. I felt it was going very, very slowly most of the time. Like, I remember, like, the first time I really realized how, like, unenjoyable it was just to react to was not even 30 minutes in. Not even 30 minutes in, I look down at the time and I'm like, holy shit. This feels like it's been going on for over an hour, and it's not even going on for half of that. That's how slow and monotonous it felt to react to it. Again, I am not by any means knocking the documentary. I am just saying it wasn't fun to react to. So, yeah. It's kind of this split overall feeling on this, because it's just that weird situation where you love what you reacted to, but you didn't love reacting to it. It's that really weird situation that doesn't pop up too often. And one other thing I noticed, going back to Fred's Christianity, there were multiple points, multiple episodes that showed where he washed Officer Clemens, I want to say? The officer's feet, the guy who, the actor is gay and everything, you know? Where he was washing his feet. That is, I don't know if that was intended, but that is directly kind of referencing the Bible, where Jesus washed the feet of people. And, I mean, that's even used as imagery in Death Note. So it's like, I noticed that right away, and connecting it with his Christianity. I want to believe it was intentional. But even if it wasn't, it's very evident. It's very evident. And it's like, they were just like cooling their feet down during a hot summer day and whatnot. But you see them like wiping off the officer's feet with the towel and stuff. It's like, yeah, it's like, if you're a Christian, if you know that kind of stuff, if you know what that, like, signifies, it's gonna, even if it's not intentional, that's what you're gonna think. That's what you're going to automatically think of. And with Death Note, it was intentional. Actually, that is confirmed. There's a lot of biblical imagery in Death Note, which is very much intentional considering Light's God complex. But yeah, you get the point. So yeah, again, I do thank you, Cartoon Lounge, for suggesting this. But I will say, for in the future, for anyone who donates to the mega streams and gets a donation reward, please try not to suggest documentaries if you can. If you really think it's something I'll have a good time reacting to, then go ahead. But I don't see documentaries as super reaction worthy. If you're gonna suggest a movie, that's great. Just have it be a more entertainment focused movie, please. Again, unless you really think it's something that I will get a kick out of, unless you really think it's something that I will love to see. But either way, so yeah, this was another one of the recent Mega Stream donation rewards. The next one up will be the comic review for Space Apples, which, as I said, if I can get to it today, I will, but I have other stuff I have to focus on first. Otherwise, it'll probably be in the next few days. I don't know exactly whenever I can get to it. And next Tuesday, we will be returning to the series Dofus. Because Tuesday being the Mega Stream Day as well, we will be getting to some old Mega Stream reward shows that I dropped for the wrong reasons. So we're going to be continuing back with Dofus next Tuesday. So thank you all so much for tuning in, and for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.
And though you've come through many obstacles,